Welcome back. We're examining the repositioning of America on the international stage as a multi-partner player rather than one that sees a multipolar world. Helping us to discuss the key issues the U.S. faces with this approach are two of the leading figures from the Clinton administration. Former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright, the first woman in America to hold that powerful position from 1997 to 2001, and Sandy Berger, who served at the same time as the U.S. National Security Advisor, helping to formulate the country's foreign policy. Mr. Berger and Secretary Albright have recently combined forces by merging their two companies to create the Albright-Stonebridge Group. As we get back to questions, we've got someone on the phone from Bahrain. Samia, what would you like to ask?
Yes, I'd like to ask, why is it okay for Israel to have all the nuclear armament that it has, and it's not okay for Iran to do so? As a matter of fact, we all know that the International Agency for Nuclear Armament, or the agency that checks these things, has consistently said that Iran is not looking to have nuclear proliferation. And I'd like to ask Mrs. Albright whether it was worth it to kill 2 million Iraqi children during the invasion of Iraq.
Let me put that to, because of time, let me put that to Secretary Albright. It's an interesting point because even Iran has said they might consider talking if the issue of nuclear weapons in the whole region are discussed.
Well, I think that, as I'd said earlier, President Obama has talked about the importance of nuclear proliferation and working systematically to rid the world of nuclear weapons. I think that would clearly be the best possible thing. I think that it is very important to sort out ways that they can be an understanding, for instance, on the Israeli-Palestinian issue, so that there's not a sense, I think America, everybody knows this, is committed to the security of Israel. But Israel, I believe, needs to be very much involved in these peace talks, and this is a very difficult neighborhood, and it would be much better, frankly, if in fact we were able to move to a nuclear free world. That is the kind of thing that the president wants.
Now, on that issue of finding some kind of solution, an email, if I may put this to you, ma'am, it's from Daoud in Egypt. He sent an email saying, so far, Obama has stood firm when it comes to Israel settlements, despite Netanyahu's insistence. How long can the brinkmanship over settlements continue, and when should the U.S. use other pressure tactics?
Well, I think that what is important here, President Obama has laid out and has talked about a freeze on the settlements, as has Secretary Clinton. And the point here is that they need to really move the negotiations. Senator Mitchell is in the region, going to the region this week also. And I think that that is the point, is to try to bring them together in these talks. Frankly, the last administration had a roadmap which it never took out of the glove compartment. And so the bottom line is we have to work on this. There is active American involvement, and I think that is the way to move forward.
Well, Mr. Berger, it's reported that you, and actually Secretary Albright too, had difficulties in the past with Benjamin Netanyahu, who of course now holds all the keys in terms of negotiations. Do you feel that he's someone America can do serious business with when it comes to finding some kind of long-term solution?
Well, we dealt with Prime Minister Netanyahu in the 90s. He's obviously conservative, but we were able to make progress with him. And I think that the important thing here is for the United States to take an active and vigorous role in trying to bring the Palestinians and the Israelis, the Arabs and the Israelis, back to a negotiating table where we can change and transform the vicious cycle of recriminations into a virtuous cycle of steps, mutually reinforcing steps that can lead to serious peace negotiations. We'll deal with whoever is the Prime Minister of Israel.
Well, in your opinion, though, sir, I mean, of course, it's something that's raised so often that America's relationship with Israel, it's one that seems so biased to a lot of people, and it's so one-sided. How long can America continue that way? It hurts its image. It hurts the situation for a lot of people.
As Secretary Albright said, we are a close friend and ally of Israel. That's simply a fact of life. But from President Nixon to President Clinton, the United States has demonstrated that it can be an honest broker for peace. And that's a role we need to return to. And I believe that's a role that President Obama and Secretary Clinton want to return to with the support of Senator Mitchell.
Ma'am, if I could put this question to you that's in our live station chat room as we go out right now live. And David in Washington says, Secretary Albright, two empires, that's the British and Soviet, were unable to pacify and control Afghanistan. Why does the U.S. think it can do so?
Well, I don't think the United States wants to control Afghanistan. What the mission is now is to try to make sure that Afghanistan can run itself, that it is not a victim of some of the activities of the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, and so that the people of Afghanistan can be living in an economic way that is appropriate for them. But the United States is not a country under President Obama that wants to occupy other countries.
Mr. Berger, how much harm has been done over the last few years to America's image, in your opinion? I mean, how much ground is there to cover in trying to get America back to that position of being an honest broker, as you say?
Well, quite honestly, I think a good deal of harm was done to the United States over the past decade. We pursued a policy of unilateralism, not listening to our friends. We pursued a policy of ideological, not pragmatic policy. And I think one of the extraordinary things that President Obama has accomplished in 6 months is to change America's image in the world by reaching out, by talking with people respectfully. I think he's done a great deal to restore America's credibility in the world. And after all, that's the basis on which all progress has to be made. So I think he deserves enormous amount of credit for shifting the way in which the world sees us.
And sir, if I could put to you a question from our live station chat from Sargon, who's in there, who says, how long do you believe the Israeli-Palestinian peace window will remain important to the USA?
Well, I think it's a wonderful question because I don't think it remains open forever. I think that the two-state solution is what we all seek. I think there are factors on the ground and demographically and with respect to the ideology of many of the players which will make it more and more difficult over time. And one of the things that I think President Obama and Secretary Clinton now bring to this issue is a sense of urgency. I don't believe they think that we have forever. And I think they believe that America should be actively engaged, that peace in this region is a vital interest to the United States and to the region, and that we have to act with a sense of urgency.
We've got a call from Dubai on the line. Wasif is in Dubai. Go ahead, Wasif.
Thank you very much, Riz Khan. My question is to former Secretary, that is, how she anticipates recent uprising in Balochistan province of Pakistan, and how she looks at the economic association with China and Pakistan, and Pakistan's future as an important economic corridor towards Middle East and Central Asia.
Okay. Actually, Secretary Albright, you touched on the importance of Pakistan as a nation, of course, in the sort of geopolitics of the region. The interesting part, I guess, is the issue of China and how important it is for America to see this other player coming onto the scene and building relations.
Well, I think that the thing that America would like to see is not new blocks of nations against each other. I think that is what Secretary Clinton was talking about, and the fact that that partnerships are required. As the United States looks at China, and every time anybody says the word China, they attach the adjective rising to it. It is it's getting to be a bigger and bigger power in terms of the role that it can play. I believe a positive one in a lot of aspects in the region and internationally. People, however, are watching China very carefully as it goes out searching for resources in a variety of areas and developing relationships. The relationship between China and Pakistan is a very old one. I remember writing a paper about it in graduate school, so this is not something new. But I think, in fact, that speaking as an American, I think we need partnerships with countries. I would like to see Pakistan be stable, democratic, and play a very important role in the region in terms of its economic potential and also in terms of contributing to peace in a very difficult area.
Mr. Berger, as we sort of wrap up and start looking at how America's moving forward, of course, one of the key things is its positioning has changed in the Obama administration compared with before. Terms such as the war on terror being dropped and so on. Issues such as the rendition, secret renditions and so on, the policies that existed for that sort of clandestinely, activated or advocated the policy of assassinations and so on of enemies. To what extent is America in a position to drop these now? Shouldn't it really, to improve its image, get rid of these kind of...
Well, I think President Obama has made it very clear that we're going to change policy on all of those issues. We're going to close Guantanamo, which has been a sore spot for the world. We're not going to engage in extra-legal renditions. We're not going to engage in torture. These are all important, not only because they don't work, but because they tarnish America's image in the world. And we can't do the kinds of things that we want to do with our friends and allies and others if they think that we are not true to our values. We cannot speak to them about summoning our common interest if we are not being true to our common values.
Well, I want to thank you both for coming in. We're out of time. There's always more questions than there is time, so I thank you both, Sandy Berger and Madam Secretary Albright.
Thank you very much, Riz.
Thank you both. Well, thank you for being with us with your questions. Don't forget, on the next show, we look at the upcoming elections in the Kurdish region of northern Iraq and the tensions that exist with Baghdad over the region's oil resources. Now, don't forget, you can follow me and the show via Facebook. You log on to get updates and submit your questions and comments. And of course, you can always use the other methods, Twitter and emails, and phone into the show if you have questions for any of the topics that are coming up. For now, that's it from me and the team. We'll see you next time.